Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. She blinked twice before saying it, like she was warming up her smugness. Maybe you'll finally apologize. I was holding a plate of scrambled eggs when she said it, as if we'd just been casually chatting all morning. But we hadn't spoken in 33 days. Not a single word. Not even a fake cough. I put the plate down slowly. Not because I was trying to be dramatic, but because my hand had started shaking and I didn't want to drop the damn thing. She was wearing that robe, the silk one with sunflowers, the one she only wore when she wanted to feel powerful or seductive or both. I stared at her. "Sorry I didn't divorce you sooner," I said. That was the first sentence I'd said to her in over a month, and I made sure it landed like a slap. Her face didn't change at first. That's how I knew it hit. You don't smirk when your ego just took a bullet. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. For the first time in 33 days, she was the silent one. I wasn't trying to win. I wasn't trying to be clever. I was just done. Done with her silent tantrums. Done with the way she weaponized stillness. Done with guessing if she'd slam the door or ignore me into madness. A month of being erased like some bad pencil sketch. And now she wanted an apology. Let me rewind. Not far, just 4 Thursdays ago. It started with a smoothie. She left it in the fridge. Neon green, unlabeled. I was running late. I drank it. Big deal, right? Apparently, that smoothie was sacred. When she got home and found it gone, she didn't yell. She just looked at the empty glass in the sink, raised an eyebrow like she was noting my execution time, and walked upstairs. That night, she slept in her office. The next morning, silence. I thought it was a joke, a dramatic little protest. But days passed, then a week, then 2. At some point, it stopped being awkward and started being terrifying. She moved around the house like I wasn't there, played music, made breakfast, laughed on phone calls with her sister, all while I became the ghost in our shared life. She'd even leave the dishwasher half full like it was my job to finish her mess. Not a punishment, just a reminder. You're the side character now. You don't realize how loud silence is until it's all you hear. I tried everything. Made her favorite dinner, cleaned the garage, even left her a note saying, "We should talk or yell or something." She threw it away. And now, here she was, 33 days later, tilting her head like a queen addressing a peasant who forgot his place. Maybe you'll finally apologize. I did, but not for what she expected. And that was the moment everything began to unravel. I didn't sleep the night I told her I should have divorced her sooner. Not because I felt bad, not because I regretted it, but because I knew she wasn't done. Dana was never the kind of person to lose control of a conversation without trying to take it back. And I'd finally wrestled it from her after 33 days of emotional starvation. The silence that followed my words wasn't the usual kind. It was loaded. Her eyes didn't blink. Her fingers gripped the edge of the counter just a bit tighter, like she wanted to throw her smoothie at me, but couldn't decide if I was worth the cleanup. She didn't respond. She just turned, robe flowing behind her, and walked upstairs like a villain in a slow burn movie. I didn't follow. I didn't apologize. Instead, I went to the guest room, not to sleep, to think. For the first time in a long time, I wanted answers more than peace. You know how they say curiosity kills the cat? Well, that night, curiosity killed what little was left of my denial. I opened her laptop. Now, listen, I'm not proud of this. I've never snooped. I'm the guy who still knocks on a closed bathroom door, even when I'm home alone. But something about the way she looked at me, the way she dismissed me like a roach under a glass, made me need to know why. Why the silence? Why the venom over a smoothie? Why the look of victory when she spoke to me again like it was a performance she rehearsed? Her browser was still open, and there it was, a Google Doc titled Boundary Plan for Separation. My hands started shaking. I almost closed it, but I didn't. It wasn't a plan for our separation. It was a list of talking points, cold, strategic, and titled like a corporate memo. 1. Withhold affection until leverage is regained. 2. Make him feel unstable, unsure of where things stand. 3. Mention therapy, but don't follow through. Keep him hopeful. 4. Keep backup options warm. J. Still interested? 5. Apology must come first. If not, the next phase begins. I read it twice, then a third time. My wife hadn't just been mad. She was conducting psychological warfare. She had phases. I scrolled down. There were chat logs pasted in, pieces of conversations with someone named Mila, her best friend. Things like, "He's still trying. It's sad. I think I could make him beg if I drag this another week. He wants to be sorry. He just doesn't know for what." That's the sweet spot. I felt sick. I wasn't in a marriage. I was in a controlled experiment. And the worst part, I was sorry. For weeks, I thought I had done something wrong. I blamed myself. I second-guessed every word I said. I walked on eggshells thinking I was keeping the peace, when in reality, I was a lab rat in her personal game of emotional chess. I closed the laptop, sat back, and laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. More like the kind that escapes your throat when reality finally breaks the spell you've been under. The kind of laugh you let out when you realize the person who sleeps beside you has been planning your psychological demise with bullet points and footnotes. So yeah, the next morning when she walked into the kitchen with that smug tone and said, "Maybe you'll finally apologize," I gave her one, and it was the last thing she expected. I wasn't planning to confront her that morning. I didn't have a speech rehearsed or some clever strategy. But after finding that Google Doc, the cold, manipulative separation boundary list, something in me cracked, not exploded, cracked, like a slow, deep fracture spreading through the foundation of everything I thought we'd built. I'd been tiptoeing around Dana's moods for years. I thought I was being supportive, patient, steady. Turns out I was just easy to control. So, when I walked into the kitchen the next day and saw her standing there in her little robe, pouring that kale smoothie like nothing happened, I didn't hesitate. I slid her laptop across the counter. Her eyes didn't even flicker. She just looked up slowly as if I'd placed a napkin in front of her. "What's this?" she asked, her voice light. "Open it." She didn't move. I opened it for her. The doc was already queued up. The silence stretched as she scanned it. For the first 10 seconds, her face stayed frozen. But then I caught it. The tiny twitch in her eyebrow, the flicker of her throat as she swallowed. She knew what she was looking at. "You went through my computer," she said finally. That's what she focused on. Not the content, not the lists, not the way she described me as emotionally clumsy or said she needed at least 1 month of leverage before letting him feel safe again. No, she was mad I'd looked. I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I just said, "You planned this. You planned to ignore me until I broke. You weren't hurt. You were rehearsing." She closed the laptop calmly and pushed it back toward me like it was an unwanted menu. Everyone writes things when they're angry. You're acting dramatic. That word, dramatic, as if I was overreacting to being psychologically starved for over a month, like some kind of emotional science experiment. "You called me sad," I said to Mila. "You said I looked like I was shrinking, that I'd beg soon, that it was the sweet spot." She blinked hard then, just once, and stepped back. The air shifted. She wasn't prepared for me to read the whole thing. I saw it on her face. She thought maybe I skimmed it. She hadn't realized I'd seen the full page. Every chat, every bullet point, every tactic she mapped out like I was an opponent in a chess game. Then she switched tones fast. The way you flip a light switch when you smell smoke. "Look, I didn't mean most of it. It was just frustration. I was venting. You always play the victim, Levi. You make things heavier than they are." I just nodded slowly, because in that moment, everything I needed to know had already happened. She didn't deny it. She didn't apologize. She didn't care. And that's when I realized I was never going to win an apology, because in her world, she'd done nothing wrong. I was the one needing correction, reprogramming. I wasn't her husband. I was her unfinished project. So I reached into the drawer, pulled out the folder she didn't know I'd put together, and placed it on the table. Inside were divorce papers. She didn't touch them, but she stopped smiling. When I placed the divorce papers on the table, I expected anything. A scream, a dramatic breakdown, maybe denial, but what I got was something I never saw coming. She didn't cry. She negotiated. Dana stared at the folder like it was a receipt for a sweater she didn't remember buying. No fear, no heartbreak, just cold calculation. "This is impulsive," she finally said. "Not wrong, not unfair, just impulsive. Like I'd made a rash decision because I got the wrong sandwich at a restaurant." She didn't even open the folder. "You're emotional right now. You should sit with this." "I already did," I replied. "For 33 days. She walked to the sink, calmly rinsed out her smoothie glass, and leaned on the counter like we were discussing refinancing a loan. "We can fix this, Levi, but not like this. You always escalate things the moment they get uncomfortable." I almost laughed. Me escalating? I'd spent a month getting emotionally starved, wondering if I was even visible in my own house, and she still wanted to paint me as the overreactor. This wasn't discomfort. I said it was punishment. "I read what you wrote. You enjoyed it." That was the first time her face twitched. Not guilt, not regret, just mild surprise that I was still sticking to my version of reality instead of folding into hers. She finally opened the folder and glanced at the papers like she was scanning a grocery list. "You didn't file yet?" she said flatly. "This is just a draft." I stepped closer, but not in anger. In finality, I met with the attorney 2 days ago. "If you want to contest anything, that's your call. But it's moving forward." Dana's head tilted slightly, like she was re-evaluating me as an opponent. "So, you're really doing this? Over a silence I didn't even think would bother you this much?" That line hit me like a slow slap. She knew. She knew how distant we'd become, how cruel her behavior was, and still framed it like a mild inconvenience I should have brushed off. Her emotional manipulation wasn't even hidden anymore. It was overt, deliberate, proud. I nodded slowly. "You're right. You didn't think it would bother me, and that's exactly why I'm leaving." Something behind her eyes flickered. Not panic, not sorrow, but frustration. Dana didn't fear losing me. She feared losing control over the narrative. If I left like this, she couldn't spin it. She couldn't say I was unstable or unfaithful or erratic. I was calm, measured. She hated that. "You're not going to find better, Levi," she said, voice low and sharp. "You're too sensitive. No one else is going to tolerate that." And there it was, her final move. Not begging, not seduction, just a cold reminder that I was disposable and that she believed I should be grateful anyone even bothered with me. I took a breath, grabbed the folder, and said, "Then I'll finally stop being tolerated." As I headed toward the door, she called after me, "You'll be back. You don't have the guts to be alone." But when I closed the door behind me, I realized something. I already had been for a long, long time. 3 days after I left the house, she showed up at my work parking lot. I was eating a microwaved burrito in my car, with the windows cracked and a podcast barely playing through my phone speaker when I saw her reflection in the mirror. That sunflower robe was gone, replaced by a grey coat I bought her for Christmas 2 years ago. The one she never wore because she said it made her feel ordinary. Suddenly, ordinary was useful. She didn't knock on the window. She just stood there, arms folded, eyes locked on mine, like she expected me to unroll the glass and invite her back into my world. I did eventually, not because I missed her, but because I needed to hear what version of reality she was now selling. "You made your point," she said, before even stepping fully into the car's shadow. "So now what?" That line, not "I'm sorry," not "let's talk," just "so now what?" Like I'd thrown a tantrum, and this was her checking in to see if I'd finished sulking. I looked at her, really looked, for the first time in a long time. She wasn't sad, she wasn't scared, she was amused. That half smile had returned, the one she wore when she thought she was smarter than everyone in the room. I filed. I said, "You should have gotten the email by now." She didn't blink. "So, you're serious?" I was serious when I was begging for a conversation. "You just didn't care until you lost the audience." She rolled her eyes and exhaled sharply. Levi, you're blowing this up because you didn't understand how boundaries work. I wasn't ignoring you. I was resetting expectations. No, I replied. You were seeing how long it would take to break me. You were testing how far you could stretch the silence before I snapped. I didn't. You did. That smile faltered for a second before returning colder, and then she dropped it. The real reason she came. So, are you going to move the money back into the joint account, or should I start calling lawyers? There it was. Not love, not reconciliation, leverage. I transferred most of our shared savings into a separate account after I filed. Legally mine, I was the sole earner, and I had the receipts. It wasn't revenge. It was protection, and she'd noticed. You had a plan, Dana, I said calmly. I finally made one too. That was the moment she realized she'd miscalculated. I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't trying to get her attention anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was tired. She switched gears again, faster than before. Look, maybe we both took things too far. We don't have to make this ugly. You're not built for ugly, Levi. You hate conflict. She wasn't wrong. I did hate conflict. I'd spent years contorting myself into the shape of peace. But something about seeing her weave manipulation into kindness so effortlessly made me realize I hadn't been avoiding conflict. I'd just been absorbing it. You're right, I said. I hate conflict. That's why I'm done letting it live in my house wearing my wife's face. She stared at me. No more smiles, no negotiation, just silence. For once, it was mine to own. After the parking lot ambush, I thought Dana was done. She didn't text, didn't call, didn't email, which I figured meant she was accepting the divorce. I felt not good, not relieved, but something like clear. Like my brain had been underwater for years, and I finally breached the surface. I was sleeping better, eating real food again instead of crackers and anxiety, and even starting to laugh at dumb TV shows without guilt crawling up my throat. It was the kind of peace that didn't feel exciting, just quiet. And I liked quiet now, the real kind. Then my mother called. It was just past 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was folding laundry in silence, phone propped up on my sock drawer, listening to lo-fi beats when it rang. Seeing her name didn't alarm me. What did alarm me was her first sentence. Levi, I just got off the phone with Dana. I froze fully, arms mid-fold. Socks crumpled in my hand like static had glued them together. I didn't say anything, just waited for the part I knew was coming. She said, "You've been spiraling, that you're pushing her away, that she's afraid for your mental health." It was the way my mom said it gently, carefully, like she was trying not to break something that was already cracked. My throat tightened. I sat on the edge of the bed. She told you what? I finally asked. She said you weren't sleeping, that you were making rash financial decisions, that she's trying to protect you, but you're lashing out. She said she found notes. Levi, is any of that true? I almost laughed. Notes? I've been journaling, sure, but not the way Dana was spinning it. I hadn't realized how far she was willing to go to stay the victim until I heard my own mother tiptoeing around the idea that I might be unstable. She was building a case, not in court, in people's minds. She knew I didn't have some dramatic story to tell, just months of slow, emotional neglect. That doesn't land well in gossip circles. So, she made hers better, tighter, more sensational. Mom, I said slowly, she's trying to get ahead of this. She knows what I found. She knows what she wrote. And now she's trying to paint me as the bad guy before I can even explain what happened. There was a pause long enough that I wondered if my mom was now choosing which side of the battlefield she wanted to stand on. I didn't know it was this bad, she finally said, but she seemed very composed. Exactly, I replied. Too composed. Dana hadn't just manipulated me. She'd started circling the people closest to me like a wolf stalking the herd. Not to attack them, but to warn them. Warn them about the wounded animal I was becoming. Not so they'd run, but so they'd stay away from me. That night, I opened my old texts with Dana. I scrolled through messages from months ago. There were hints, little jabs, Lines like, "You always take things too personally," or "Your memory's fuzzy again." Huh? Things I'd brushed off. But now, they looked like bricks in a foundation she'd been laying for a long time. She wasn't trying to win me back. She was trying to make sure when she lost me, she still won the story. By the end of the week, I had told everyone close to me what really happened, not the filtered, softened version. I laid it out: the silent treatment, the manipulation plan, the fake concern about my mental health. My friends were furious on my behalf. My co-workers didn't say much, but they looked at me differently, like maybe they finally saw that I wasn't just tired all the time. But the hardest conversation was with my sister, Cara. Cara and Dana used to be close, like dangerously close. The kind of close where I'd catch them laughing about private jokes I wasn't even a part of. I never thought much of it before. Just assumed it was good to have my wife and sister on the same wavelength. Now, I wasn't so sure. So, when Cara called me out of nowhere and said, "Can we talk face to face?" I knew something was off. We met at a little diner downtown, one of those dim booths with sticky tables and laminated menus from the 90s. I hadn't touched my fries before she leaned in, voice low like we were plotting a heist. "She came to see me," Cara said. "Last night." I blinked. "Dana?" Cara nodded. "She showed up at my apartment with wine, and this big sob story about how you're spiraling. How she's scared you'll do something drastic. She cried. Real tears, Levi. She even said she was worried you might hurt yourself." That last sentence hit me in the chest like a brick. "She's using you," I whispered. "I know that now," Cara said, sighing. "But Levi, for a second, I didn't. For a second, I believed her." That shook me more than anything Dana had done. Because if my own sister, someone who knew me, could believe I was unstable based on one conversation, then Dana had already planted roots deeper than I thought. "She's not trying to get you back," Cara continued. "She's trying to erase the fact that she destroyed the relationship. She doesn't want to be the woman who got left. She wants to be the woman who let you go because she had to." I leaned back, stunned by how perfectly Cara had put it. That was exactly it. Dana didn't care about the truth. She cared about the version people would remember. She cared about the legacy of her role, not the reality of her cruelty. "She asked me to talk to you," Cara added, "to convince you to come home. Said maybe if I explained it from her side, you'd calm down." I looked out the diner window, then back at my sister. "Are you here to do that?" "No," she said. "I'm here to say I'm sorry I ever took her side in anything. And if you need me in court, I'll show them the texts she sent me. All of them." I wasn't expecting that, not from Cara. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like I wasn't crazy, like I wasn't alone in this maze of half-truths and twisted narratives. When I got back to the apartment I'd been staying in, there was a voicemail waiting for me. It was Dana. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "You're making a mess, Levi. You're dragging people into things they don't understand. I tried to do this quietly, but you clearly want an audience. Just remember, once things go public, you don't get to control what they believe." She still thought she had control. She still thought this was a game. But now, I had people who saw the board clearly. It was exactly 1 month to the day since Dana spoke those words. "Maybe you'll finally apologize." When I got the letter, a real one, handwritten on actual paper, no envelope, just folded in half and pushed under the door of the apartment I was renting. She must have driven by late at night because the security camera didn't even catch it. It was short, just a few lines, no signature, but the handwriting was hers. "You were right. I went too far. I confused control for care. I thought silence would make you chase me. I didn't expect you to walk away and never look back." I read it twice, then I smiled. Not because I forgave her, not because I missed her, but because that was the first time she acknowledged the truth. Not the version she built for others, not the half-sweet lie she sold to my sister or my mom. Just the truth written quietly, delivered in defeat. But I didn't reply. I didn't need to. You see, somewhere along the way, The pain stopped being about her. It stopped being about proving she was wrong or trying to make her feel what I felt. I wasn't chasing closure anymore. I was the closure. That weekend, I packed the last of my things. My lawyer confirmed the divorce would be finalized by the end of the month. No contest. Dana didn't fight it. Probably couldn't. Not with what we had on record. She had finally run out of moves. And me? I started walking in the mornings again. Real walks, no podcasts, no overthinking, no analysis, just breath and pavement and sun. I called old friends. I said yes to an invite I would have normally dodged. I signed up for a cooking class even though I still burned toast half the time. It wasn't some overnight transformation, but it was real. My quiet, but not the kind of silence that hurts, the kind that heals. Dana's story with me ended long before I said goodbye. I just didn't see it. But now I do. And honestly, I'm grateful. Not for her actions, but for what they forced me to finally face. Sometimes the apology you want never comes. But if you're lucky, the life you deserve shows up instead.